Okay, guys, this is my weekly outlook video for this week, October 10th to 14th, Friday. All right, so I like to start my analysis from the monthly time frame. Okay, this is Euro USD EU. Um, and I like to mark out my key levels. Okay, I already done that, so I don't have to repeat myself. You can see that initially price traded to this mitigation block, and that was where we got the bounce a couple of weeks back, and now price is rejecting now. Okay, so here we have a weekly fair value gap. So ultimately, I think that this low is likely going to be the draw on liquidity on the monthly time frame. So my long-term perspective on Euro USD is bearish. So I think that price would eventually still clean this relative equal lows or trend line liquidity. Okay, so the next level for me on the monthly time frame would be this order block, or let's say this fair value gap. Okay, so these two fair value gap, that would be the next objective for me on the monthly. Okay, so price is still heavily bearish. Okay, even when we look at it from the macro perspective, the Feds, they are hiking interest rates, and as we all know, the higher the interest rates, the more bearish the market gets. Okay, so all risk on assets generally will drop in price, okay, including the stock market, the index futures market, pretty much every market. Okay, the only pairs that tend to go up is the pairs that are inversely that are correlated to DXY. Okay, for example, USD card. Okay, if DXY is going up, USD card is going to go up. So the pairs where you have USD before the second currency is generally going to go. Okay, while the other ones where you have like Euro USD, GBP USD, odd USD, where USD is the last currency in the symbol, they all will go down. Okay, as long as they continue to increase interest rate, price will continue to go down. Okay, so I'm still heavily bearish on the monthly time frame, and the next objective for me on the monthly time frame would be this fair value gap right there. Ultimately, I think that this is the ultimate destination of Euro USD. Okay, so let's go to the weekly time frame. You can see I already marked key levels already. Okay, now this is not looking pretty, and that was why I hid it initially. Okay, so I already marked them out. When we go to the lower time frame, you'll see them. Okay, so let's go to the weekly time frame. Okay, so on the weekly time frame, we see from here as well that this is where price initially bounced from last week from this mitigation block. Okay, this is where it bounced from last week, this mitigation block. All right, so the next level for me on the weekly time frame would be this other block. Okay, this other block. This weekly order block. This will be the although there is a tiny little fair value gap here where price may also potentially bounce from, and we also have a mitigation block here as well. So we may get a bounce from here first before it then drops into this order block. Okay, so I'm just showing you the key levels so that when we go to the lower time frame and current market price, you will be able to relate to the levels I'm going to be referring to. Okay, so let's go to the daily time frame. So this is the daily time frame. These are the levels that I have marked out, like I said, the next level for me is the monthly mitigation block, or yeah, this will be the next level for me based on the daily time frame. Ultimately, I think it is coming here. Okay, and this weekly will be okay. This would be the next ultimate stop in my perspective. Okay, if we do measure the swing projection from this high to this high, they would see that this is 168, 167, this is 2. Okay, and the measured swing is falling on this monthly fair value gap. Okay, this monthly fair value gap. So ultimately, this is the low of the monthly fair value gap. Okay, this is the um high of the monthly fair value gap, somewhere around here. Okay, so ultimately it is going to fill it, and then from there we may see a reaction. So I'm almost certain that EU is going to drop to these levels. Okay, it is going to drop to these levels. I'm looking at 0900 looks like an interesting level. I'm just giving you my long-term perspective first before we then look at what I think the weekly objective is going to be. All right, so um, going back to current market price, we can see a fair value gap between this candle and this candle. Okay, so this is a fair value gap. So ultimately, that fair value gap is going to be a draw on liquidity. Okay, so my expectation for the week is that price rising up to this fair value gap. Okay, now when we go to the low time frame, we also see that there is an equal high at this level. Okay, so my expectation is that price will rise up to fill. Now it shouldn't go above this candle's high, because this candle becomes a reclaimed block. Okay, a reclaimed block is like a different type of order block, the down close candle before the move up. Okay, so in the reverse leg of a market maker sell profile, every reclaimed block, price should not go above it. Okay, so price should not go above this high. Okay, so my expectation is that it is probably going to just take out this equal high, fill the daily fair value gap, and then reject lower. There is a 12-hour fair value gap to fill the 12-hour fair value gap, and ultimately perhaps this low, take out this low. Okay, so let's go to the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, we have a layered PD array here. Okay, this is an old low, okay, which is also in alignment with the daily fair value gap, the high of the daily fair value gap. This is the low of the daily fair value gap. Okay, so my expectation is that price will drive higher, like I mentioned on the daily time frame. Price will drive higher to fill out this imbalance. Okay, it may not completely fill it. At the end of the day, it might just be a consequent encroachment. Okay, by consequent encroachment, I mean the the midline of the fair value gap, of the daily fair value gap. Remember, I mentioned that this is a down close candle before this move up. Okay, so this is a reclaimed block. Price should not go above this candle's high. Okay, so I wouldn't be expecting the daily fair value gap to completely fill up. It may completely fill up, but I wouldn't be expecting it to. So uh, if we also look at the fact that this low, okay, now let me quickly explain briefly how the sell program works. Okay, the algorithm, how it delivers price. Whenever the sell program is running, okay, when a low forms and it breaks that low becomes some kind of resistance. Don't forget that old lows and old highs are also PD arrays. Okay, now when a PD array fails to hold price, it becomes the opposing PDRA. Okay, for example, if we have another block, okay, assuming we have another block that fails to hold price, that other block becomes a resistance. Okay, if a bullish order block fails to hold price and price trades below it, that bullish order block becomes a bearish order block. Okay, I hope that is clear. Okay, so this old low, ideally when price trades to it, we should get a bounce because it is a PDRA, right? But it failed. Okay, so if price is going to come back, my expectation is for it to come back to this low. It shouldn't go above this fair value gap. Okay, that is what I will be anticipating for the week. It may feel it. Okay, it may feel it. You just never know. It may feel it to come and you know test this other block, this 4 hour other block. Okay, but my expectation would be for it not to. Okay, so feel the daily fair value gap a little bit, just feel it a bit. Okay, I mean 4 hour fair value gap rather. This whole gap from here to here is 4 hour. The daily is from this candle, from this line to this line. Okay, and that makes sense. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So I wouldn't be expecting to completely fill the 4 hour fair value gap. What I'll be looking forward to is a half fill of it, just the daily fair value gap, and then drop from there to attack this low. Okay, fill this 12 hour fair value gap, 4 hour fair value gap, and take out this low. Okay, so we may get a really big wick. Okay, drive higher, drop to this level. Okay, and if we get a really big wick, then I will be looking at this level as the next objective. Okay, but I'll be closing most of my positions at the end of the week anyway. That is the whole idea of short-term trading, one shot, one kill. Okay, so let's go to the 1 hour time frame. On the 1 hour time frame, okay, this is the daily fair value gap. This is the equal high that I mentioned. You can see it's more obvious here. So my expectation is that price will take out the equal high. You can see a 1 hour order block here. This is also adding to the confluence that price should not trade completely fill this the 4 hour fair value gap. Okay, because this 1 hour order block is going to act as resistance. Okay, so I'll be looking for price to trade higher on Monday and potentially Tuesday. So now we have a 1 hour order block here, right? I have this 1 hour order block. So today price may just trade down into the 1 hour order block and then trade up to fill the daily fair value gap and rejection from there to attack this low and potentially this low. Okay. Let's look at the 15-minute time frame. Again, this is the equal high. It is too clean. Okay, this high is way too clean for them to leave it. Okay, we have a bunch of trend line here as well. Okay, I don't see price going higher. Okay, I don't see that. My expectation would be for price to run up, clean the equal high, fill the daily fair value gap, and then reject from there to go lower. So something like this. So maybe today we take out the Asia low, rise up to fill the gap, and then drop down to attack the low I mentioned, and ultimately this low potentially. Okay, so this is what I'll be expecting for the week. I'll be expecting the high of the week to form on Tuesday on Wednesday. Okay, Tuesday on Wednesday. Okay, and I'll be targeting this fair value gap, this 12-hour fair value gap. Okay, so that's my expectation for Euro USD. Now let's go to DXY. Okay, we have this 4-hour. Okay, let me start from the monthly time frame. Overall. So here we see that price filled the monthly fair value gap, and that was when the drop happened. Okay, ultimately this is what I think would be the ultimate target, especially when we look at the yearly when we look at the yearly chart. We can see that this is ICT 2022 mentorship model. Price has taken sell side, short term shift to market structure, fair value gap, traded into the fair value gap, as well as the breaker. Okay, so ultimately this should be the destination. It should take out the high. Okay, you should take out this high, fill the rest of the fair value gap, and this tiny fair value gap as well, and then rejection from there. Okay, so this is what I will be expecting. So let's go back to the monthly time frame. From the monthly time frame, the next objective for me would be this fair value gap here. Okay, and the monthly order block, the first up close candle before this drop. Okay, so I already marked those levels already, but I didn't mark the other blocks. So let me mark the other block. Monthly order block. I don't want to mark the fair value gap yet until price has traded above the previous fair value gap. Okay, just to keep things clean. Okay, so if you go to the weekly time frame, there really isn't that much to look at from this area. But let's check. Let's have a look. Price has filled this monthly fair value gap, so my expectation is this weekly fair value gap. Okay, the weekly fair value gap and this other block and the weekly time frame. So DXY still has a lot of upside. Okay, you can see that this is a relatively equal high, so ultimately it's still going to take out buy side and potentially fill the fair value gap on the yearly time frame. Okay, so let's look at the price action. So last couple of weeks after DXY filled the monthly fair value gap, it dropped lower to fill the weekly fair value gap, which it did, bounced from the other block, and then reacted from there. So my expectation would be for price to continue higher, okay, until proven otherwise. Right, okay, so let's go to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, we also have a fair value gap here, but I wouldn't be expecting this fair value gap to fill up. Okay, maybe it might create another fair value gap today, and then Tuesday will fill it and then bounce from there. I think that this fair value gap would be for the next retracement. Okay, if we are going to get another retracement in the future, I think that this fair value gap would be the catalyst for the bounce. Okay, so and it may drop down to fill it. Okay, it may drop down to fill the daily fair value gap before it then continues higher, but I wouldn't be expecting it to. Why? Because this is a reclaimed block. Okay, this is a reclaimed block. So the last stop close candle before the drop. Okay, so my expectation would be for it to maybe close this gap. Okay, create some kind of fair value gap today, tomorrow, and then fill the gap and then bounce from there. That would be my expectation. Now let's go to the 4 hour time frame. On the 4 hour time frame, you can see that we already have a short term shift in market structure, fair value gap, bounce. It didn't even retrace to this level. Now this is the daily fair value gap. Okay, this level right here. We have a 4 hour order block here, so it shouldn't come here. Okay, this is, you would expect that the up close candles should hold price, so price should not come here. Okay, if price should come here, obviously this is also going to become a shift in market structure, right? So my expectation is that this 4 hour order block should hold price, so maybe some kind of retracement to the order block and then bounce from here to take out this high, fill this 4 hour fair value gap, and potentially take out this high. Okay, if we get any kind of bearish rejection around here, the next target will be this low. Okay, that means EU and GU will rally up. Okay, but I'm not expecting that to happen. My expectation, I'm surprised it left this low. Okay, is a big, I'm seriously suspecting that they may want to drive the price lower to come and take it out, because this is a really clean low, very clean. It's too clean, okay, for them to leave it. So I'm really surprised that they didn't come down to clean the lows. So we may see some kind of rejection around here, or immediately after it takes out this high, to then drop lower to attack these lows. Okay, because when we also look at the October seasonal tendency for DXY, the early part of October is generally bearish. Okay, we've seen bearish price action here, but is that enough? I really don't know. Okay, but my expectation for DXY, I'm bullish. I'm not expecting it to drop down here, but I'm not ruling that out. Okay, so level by level. So for this week, let's go to the 1 hour time frame. For this week on the 1 hour, what I'm expecting is for price to drop lower a little bit. Okay, maybe just drop somewhere around here and then bounce from there to fill this 4 hour fair value gap and potentially take out this high. Okay, let's go to the 15 minute. On the 15 minutes, we have seen a break in market structure. This is a shift in market structure. We have this other block. Price has traded into it. So my expectation would be for us to drop lower on Monday, then maybe Tuesday form the low. But I'm not expecting price to drop this low. Okay, once price drop below this low, then I'll be anticipating price to continue lower. Okay, it shouldn't come here. It shouldn't come to this fair value gap, and it may, but I wouldn't be expecting it to. It could, because of this old high here. This is also an old high, but my expectation would be for Monday to form some kind of low, Tuesday sweeps the low, and then bounce from there to go higher. Okay, that is what I'll be expecting for DXY. Okay, so let's look at GU. GU is quite similar to EU. The only difference is that there is no 4-hour fair value gap, there is no daily fair value gap on GU. Okay, so my expectation would be for it to maybe return to this other block and then drop lower to fill this imbalance, take out this low and potentially this low. Okay, this may not happen this week. Okay, all of this might not happen this week, but ultimately I'm bearish on both pairs. So let me just go straight to the 15-minute time frame. Okay, so this is the 15-minute time frame. Like I said, my expectation would be for it to, drive higher into this imbalance for our fair value gap, probably the midline or the equilibrium of the 4-hour order block, not fair value gap, order block, the 4-hour order block, and reject from there to clean this low and fill the daily fair value gap and potentially take out this daily low as well as this weekly low, okay, and this low, okay. So it may not come here this week, okay, it probably will take out this low. This low will be my minimum target, okay. This low would be my minimum target for this week. So I'm expecting price to drive higher, something like this. Let me use my arrow. Something like this. Maybe drop down a little bit, rally up, shift in market structure, and then fill the fair value gap, okay, and take out the sell side. Okay, so this previous day low would be my sell side for this week. Okay, so fill this gap, drop lower, and this similar to EU. Okay, so that's it from me. Okay, let me also do a review for US 500. Okay, go to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, we have this weekly imbalance. Obviously, that is going to be the target 3,400. We have this order block as well. So we may see a bounce from here to potentially go back up to this order block. Okay, so drop down to this order block first and foremost. Okay, and then we may then get a retracement. Okay, we may not, but the first objective is this weekly fair value gap and this weekly order block. So I'm looking at 3,450, 3,400 as the next objective. If we go to the daily time frame, okay, we may get a return to this fair value gap. Okay, we may get a return to the fair value gap because this fair value gap didn't hold price, and so we may get a return to it where we then say rejection, and it may not. Okay, it may not. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, we have fair value gap, fair value gap. Mm. So my expectation would be for it to fill this 4-hour fair value gap, and it may go as far up as this daily fair value gap, this old fair value gap that old price. You may get a retest of the fair value gap and then drop lower. Okay, well, let's go to the 1 hour. On the 1 hour, we should have a clearer perspective. So in the 1 hour time frame, we have an order block. Okay, so with this order block, I wouldn't be expecting price to get to the fair value gap because in a sell program, you would expect that the up close candle should hold price. okay, and we have fair value gap before the other block. So this makes this other block high probability. So my expectation for the week would be for price to rally up, fill this gap and potentially tap into this 1 hour order block, and then we see some kind of short-term shift in market structure, and then we expand lower, take out the high retracement, and then ultimately the weekly order block, fair value gap. So I'll be looking at this fair value gap to completely fill up. So this is my expectation for years. We may, okay, of course, we may drive higher to fill this fair value gap before it drops lower. That is definitely a possibility, but I wouldn't be expecting that to happen because of this 1 hour order block. Okay, so maybe the setup forms there, drives lower, take out the previous week's low, and then maybe a significant retracement and then drop. Okay, so a move higher on Monday and then drops. Okay, something like this is what I will be expecting in the coming weeks, and we may get something like this as well. So we come back to retest this before dropping to, or ultimately return to this high, to this old low before dropping. So we may get this or this. Okay, but I'm not expecting this to happen. I'll be anticipating that this 1 hour order block should hold price. Okay. I might take a swing setup, should I call it swing, or short term, one short, one Q if it presents. I'm looking at EU, GU, and US500. If I get a setup here, I will look to take it, and I'm going to hold it for the rest of the week for these targets. Okay. So that will be all for me for this week. On Wednesday, before the market opens, I'm going to make another video either on Tuesday or on Wednesday. Between Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm going to make another video to, you know, to look at what has, happened from Monday, and we look at where the potential one short one Q setup can form. Okay. So that will be all from me. I will see you in the next video.